I think we're live.
Yep.
I think we're live, guys. All right. Hi,
Uh-oh.
everybody. Welcome to the Snowbirds meeting room. I'm Voidwalker Joe. I'm here with King Payne, Shadow Spectre 11. We got Zook Zimimi and A7 Force. So today we're going to be talking about the 319, which is in PTU Wave 1 right now. We're going to talk about some of the leaks that's been going on. We got the ship of the week, which is the Cutlass Black, and then whatever else we feel like talking about. So whatever's relevant at the moment. So to start it off, King Payne. Actually, before we started off, King, sorry about that. A7 Force, do you want to? Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and when you started Star Citizen.
Oh, let's see. So, go by Adam. Call me A7 or Adam or A7 Force or Alpha. I don't care. I started playing back in, what was it, 315?
Yeah.
I believe. Kind of jumped on and off for a few years. 317 is when I really got into it. 317.2. Just started playing pretty consistently then. And ever since then, I've been subscriber, playing all the PTU stuff. And I mean, outside of here, I work with Payne. Yeah, he has to put up with me a lot more often than you guys do. So feel sorry for him. Other than that, any questions you guys have, shoot them at me.
Yeah. So what are your? I mean, what is your overall sentiment with CIG and Star Citizen? Are you more in the positive realm or the negative realm when it comes to things that are released and how stable things are?
I'm a very laid back person in general, so I'm one of those guys. I'll pop on if things are broken. I'll just turn the game off, go do something else for a
There you
while, come
go.
back. It's it's not my life. But it is something that I like to do, but it's not my life. It's not going to ruin my day if the game is broken in the moment. I understand it's an alpha. It's going to be broken.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in other words, you're an actual adult. That's good. You're very mature.
Yes.
You're not 18 playing Call of Duty. So
that old CS kitty.
All right. Go ahead, King Payne.
Yeah.
Get us started with the ship of the week.
Right on, right on. So we have busted through the $0 through $100 realm. At this point, we're going to start between the $100 and $200 realm. These are the ships that you eventually graduate to and graduate through. And the first ship we're going to be looking at is probably one of the most popular ones in this lower $100 realm, US dollar realm. It's called the Cutlass Black. So the Cutlass is more in general speaking, this is what I would argue is the most common Drake ship in the verse. The Cutlass is more of a platform for its variants. So the Cutlass starts with the black, and then there's the blue, the red, the steel that we don't really talk about, and the Best in Show edition. But let's start with the black, because this is the one we're going to be talking about today. So it is probably the most common pirate ship you'll probably run out to outside of the Buccaneer. It's a very versatile ship, can kind of really go anywhere. Right now, though, if you are a fighter who does bounty hunting and you come across this Cutlass Black, you're going to tear right through it. Like, no joke. But it's also one of the first ships you really run into that has multi-crew gameplay where you have a turret and a gunner. Excuse me, a turret and a pilot, and you can have a co-pilot, but what does he do? And it's got some okay storage in the back. If you wouldn't mind pulling up in the technical specs on this guy.
Sure thing there, King.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and hit the specifications, please. Awesome.
There you go.
We got 29 meter in length, 26.5 beam, and a height of 10 meters. It's a medium-sized ship. target capacity is 46 SCUs, so not as much as a Hull A, but probably better than running with a Nomad. Its SCM speed is 220 meters a second, and its afterburners 1,155. Not anywhere near what the MiG-50 can do. But all that being said, the Cutlass Black is a ship that you can graduate to that enables you to kind of see the verse in a very different light, especially with other people going with you to do missions. So let's say, for example, you do a lot of cave missions and stuff like that, Cutlass Black. You do some basic, box grab missions, Cutlass Black. It's pretty decent ship to start with when you get into this area. There are better ships. There are smarter ships. But here's where we are. So, that being said, my take on it is it's not a ship that I'm going to fly a lot. I don't think it's bad, but it's not something I'm going to use. If I was to give it a 0 out of 10, it's probably ranking at a 7 or 6 out of 10. There are better ships, in my opinion. So, let's hit up the peanut gallery here. Let's start with Shadow. Shadow, what do you think about the Cuddy Black?
Don't like the ship.
Huh, good talk.
I've never liked the ship.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's fine.
The one, okay. I didn't get it when I started. I will fly the Cutlass Red. That ship is more valuable to me than the Cutlass Black.
Fair enough.
Also, when I did get the C1, you were given the Cutlass Black as a loaner. I flew it once. Okay? I flew it once. The nose pointed down. It didn't give me control. We had issues with it. I said, okay, it sits in my hangar collecting dust and being eaten by mothballs. Now,
sad.
There's one ship that we do not talk about. It's called the CS. That's it. I'm not saying another word. But other than that, I won't tell anybody to stay away from the ship if that's their preference. That's totally their preference. But personally, I just don't like the ship. That's it. I'm done. It's up to Zook now.
Go ahead, Zook.
A lot of respect for this ship. I would not say love, because it's just not my style of ship. But when you're looking at it as somebody who's working their way through the verse, this ship is going to be a humongous upgrade to almost anything else out there. This is the ship that you can have a vehicle on while your vacuum is secure. This is a ship that can move vehicles, that can move cargo, that can move people, that can act as a poor man's dropship. This ship is one of the first ships in the verse that can properly do everything. Yes, like Boxhopper said in chat, rock mining. This ship is one of the first ships that can properly do just about anything and everything, and do it moderately well to very well. It's one of the best upgrades. So if you're working your way through the verse, and you spend most of your time in an Aurora, in a 100i, in a Nomad, and whatever, right? This ship is going to look and feel like an upgrade. It's a capable fighter. It's a hull tank. It takes forever for it to be killed. It has a gunner seat that can cover your blind spots where you can't turn properly, right? I mean, with the right set of people and a right crew, this ship is amazingly powerful and a force to be reckoned with, even in a situation, with the right crew who knows how to fly her. The downside is you need to know how to fly her. If you don't know how to fly her, a competent pilot, not a good pilot, but a competent pilot, is going to be sitting on your belly the entire time, shooting out your rear door and shooting at your bottom. It's going to track you down because it's slow and you won't be able to get away. I mean, there's a lot of situations a Black can find himself in where he can be outmanned and outgunned. But the biggest thing is, it's a huge upgrade from anywhere else that you've started from. If you started, or any of the rest of the ships that we've done this far, and you from it to a Cutlass Black, it will be an upgrade. Just period. You'll whatever you did before, you'll be able to do that just as good, if not better, and have a bunch more options as well. And that's the downside to it. It's sort of a a master of it's sort of a instead of it being a master of something, it's sort of a jack of all trades ship, which means when you upgrade from the Cutty Black to something else, right? Almost anything else, right? On the more expensive, larger ships, as time goes on, this ship that you probably fell in love with will end up not being used later on in the game. So it's one of those stepping stone ships that you will absolutely love. You'll love playing, and you'll eventually leave in the garage. Now that said, the one powerhouse that you have, and if you can, Joe, go up to the top where the picture is. I want to mention something.
So go to the picture of it.
Yes, perfect, right there. In this game, we have a VTOL, which most of us are aware of. Then the VTOL mode for the Cutlass Black is one of the first ones that has a proper VTOL. Those big engines that give it that powerful, 1,100 meters per second afterburner speed can be pointed straight down. And if you go vertical with afterburners, you can go almost as fast, completely straight up, that you can going forward. And there's been a lot of times where I'm approaching a station or I'm under attack or whatever it is, and I don't even have to do a full 180 turn to turn down afterburners. I just nose up, put in the VTOL mode, turn on afterburner, and I stop. Which means you can approach a station or location or whatever in a much more aggressive fashion than you can with almost any other ship. With that one feature, that one functionality piece, makes that ship a lot more versatile than most people give it credit for. And I give credit to Bosswapper for showing me that. We was doing Xenothreat, not recently, but about a year ago or so now, and we was approaching the Jericho with a load, and we was running out of time, and he pulled that maneuver, and I thought we were gonna die. I'm not gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest with you, and it stopped dead perfect. It's just a very, very impressive ship in the hands of a good pilot. Too bad you're going to end up leaving it alone once you advance further into the game.
I think you're muted.
So, Joe, do you want to? Yeah, I am. Joe, do you want to drop your 2 cents on that real quick, and then we'll go to?
Oh boy, what do you say after Zook talks? I have no idea what to say after that. He kind of covered everything. I pretty much agree with you with most of that. This was a stepping stone for me when I got the ship. But I mean, even after I bought ships that were better, I always came back to it at some point because I would need it. The ship itself is so good. I think out of all of the jack of all trades ships, this is the ship that does everything, I think, a little bit better than everybody else. There's nothing else that comes to mind at the moment that really does it any better, just because for the size and the components it has and the cargo bay. And I mean, you could still multi-crew, you got the man turret. You can fly over all over the place with this thing and, still get to where you're going without having to make stops. So, yeah, I agree with you, Zook. I don't love the ship, but it is definitely one I think, I don't think I'll ever get rid of mine. I have it and it always sits there. If I need something quick, I always take it out and end up using it. So I also have the red, which I absolutely love. I use the red more often than the black, but yeah, the black will always be there. I don't think I'll ever get rid of it. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that one.
Sweet. Alpha, let's get your thoughts on the Cutlass Black.
So I've never actually owned the ship. I have its big brother at this point in time. I pretty much agree with Zook for the most part. It is a great ship that's a kind of an all-purpose ship. You can do really anything that you may need to do to make money within the verse, albeit slower than later ships that you might get, but you can do pretty much anything you need to solo with this ship. My only complaints about it are the design. I think it looks like your standard horror monster that's walking on all fours inverted. It looks weird. And the interior design also, I like it for the most part, but it's kind of the Drake design language, very very minimal. No extra features given to the captain's quarters or anything like that. It's just you get what you get and that's it. But overall, I do like the ship. It's a very good ship, good jack of all trades. There are better ships out there. There are cheaper jack of all trade ships as well. Like if you didn't want to spend the money for something like the Cutlass Black, you could go with an Avenger Titan and get pretty much most of the same utility. But if you like the Cutlass Black, then go with the Cutlass Black. It's going to serve you well.
Yeah. It's definitely like, so to wrap this out, like basically again, the Cutlass Black is the Toyota. If the Avenger Titan is the Toyota Corolla of the universe, this is probably the Camry. So this is probably the best way to think about it. It's definitely, it can do the job, and if anybody runs this ship, they're going to be fine. At the end of the day, they're going to be able to play the game without problem. You cannot take a Rock DS in this ship. Don't try it. Don't even think about it. In fact, why do you own a Rock DS? Don't do it. Get help. It was the conversation in chat. So, like I said, the Cutlass is a framework or a platform, and you'll find out later when we go over the blue and the steel and the red why that is. Okay, well, that's all there is to it when it comes to the ship of the week. Leave your thoughts in the chat and tell us what you think about the Cutlass Black and whether or not you fly one and love it or hate it or whatever the case may be. All right, let's move on. What?
A very quick little bit of history on the Cutlass Black.
Okay.
The Cutlass Black was one of the first games that was put on sale like almost a decade ago, and it was one of the original ships that had the modules that would be changing concept, right? So the original idea behind it is you'd have the Cutlass Black, and then you would change out the cargo space to become a full dropship, to become the medical piece, to become the police thing as we would go along the roads. So the Cutlass Black was the base. And I'll draw a comparison with the Galaxy now, because a lot of people are a little bit touchy about this particular ship, especially the old timers, because that would have been as if they took the Galaxy, more of a recent ship, and said, instead of making the Galaxy with a module swapping out feature, we're going to make the Galaxy the medical Galaxy, and then the refining Galaxy, and then the cargo Galaxy. And that's sort of what happened to this ship. Now, I don't know why they did it, if they just wanted ship sales or what it was, but there is that history of that ship.
And look how different
Look at that.
It is now.
Look at that turret. Woo! Man, times have changed. Yeah. You guys noticed the old pirate skin, what it used to look like, right?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Oh my God.
They didn't even update the pictures. They just they have one updated picture at the beginning, So I can imagine a new player looking at this and being like, "That's ugly." Like, what the hell's going on? Anyways,
whole different ballpark.
did you guys bring up the whole tractor beam thing with this thing?
No, not yet.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, that's another thing about this. Hopefully soon, right? We get the ability to have a tractor beam on this thing like we're supposed to. And that's something I know out of everything, out of like the old plans for the Cutlass, right? That's the only thing that really stuck through time, right?
Yeah, it was.
I don't know if there's
Pretty
any plans to not do that anymore, but as far as I know, they're still doing it.
Where is the
I don't-
tractor beam? 'Cause that's supposed to be the second seed is the tractor beam.
I know
I thought it was going to be in the back.
in the overview somewhere.
I thought it was in the back, but I don't remember where it's supposed to. I don't remember seeing it in the game.
RIO seat
seal?
and dedicated tractor mount. Okay, it doesn't say.
Yeah, so I thought it was like how the C1 is, that it's in the back to help load cargo. That's where I thought it was. But I've never found a mounting point for it, and I don't see it.
There might not be a. They might have to rework it in there, maybe.
Yep. Well, if you also notice, if you scroll up a little bit, under the overview section, flight ready, update, pass in progress. So it's possible they might be they're adding something.
You know what, too?
Components, like Sue pointed out.
This could be text that just they've never taken off.
That's very true too. But the last time I was in here, this just said flight ready. It didn't say update pass in progress.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
The Cutlass Red doesn't say anything underneath it. It just says flight ready. So I think they're specifically updating the black.
Okay,
We
interesting.
are confirming from Major Payne over here that they are bringing the gold pass to the Cutlass Black, and it will be finished. Game launching in 3 months.
Do a little test. Best in Show edition. What does it say?
Gross.
Update pass in progress.
Well,
Okay.
It's still the black. That's still the black.
Well,
still the black.
I know, but it's a different skin of it, and I was just seeing if the text matches up with it,
Gotcha.
or if it was different. It was just a test. See what the
Just
blue says here. Flight ready.
Flight ready.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
So confirm game launching in 3 months.
Yeah. Squadron 42 is done, guys.
Confirm. Yeah. Confirm beta in 2 days. Right on. All right. So yeah, thank you for the ship of the week conversation, guys, and let's on to the next stuff.
All right, we're talking about 3.19. It's wave 1 right now in PTU, so anybody that has concierge or is a subscriber, I believe you have access to wave 1. Me and Shadow, I think, are the only ones here, right, that got to jump in and try a little bit of it out before the podcast. A7,
I got through a little bit.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go through the patch notes and then we'll see what everybody's thoughts are about it. So, let's see. Testing focus. You got the general stability, Lorville Skyline 2.0, the salvage contract missions, tractor beam item detaching and attaching, the Ghost Hollow Reclaimer PvP mission, and they've did some mission density management stuff. Which I don't know if I agree with. I read it briefly. I didn't get a chance to really kind of digest what it said, but first glance at it, I didn't really agree with it too much, but I don't know to what extent it was. Coming soon to the PTU, Mining Balance version 1 and new player experience. Now, the new player experience, I think when they say that, it's the tutorials, because you still have the setting that you can turn on and off for the control hints that tell you the controls of the game in real time as you're playing. So that's pretty nice. And then you have the updated signage from Area 18 that's there. I don't think we're going to go through the known issues. There's a lot. New features. We'll talk with mission contracts. A7, did you get a chance to try this?
I did not get a chance to try the salvage contracts. I don't have a salvage ship at the moment.
Okay. In addition of salvage contracts in the PU, the new contract called the Salvage Resource Rush is a mission where a faction or mission giver requests the scrapping of a derelict or husk in their possession, either on the ground, at a junkyard, or in space. In space in a field debris field. Fuck. Players accepting the mission. Now that's something I didn't know. I didn't know that this was also going to be at a junkyard on the ground. I thought it was just going to be debris fields. Players accepting the mission are tasked to scrap a derelict to the best of their ability to sell RCM to a shop. Once the player is finished with the scrapping of a derelict, they can complete the mission in their mobiGlas. This mission will have 3 variants. And this is something I didn't know either. I knew about the lawful and the unlawful, but the lawless one I didn't know about. I don't know if they talked about it on the ISCs. I don't know if you guys remember.
They did.
They did? Okay.
They did.
I totally glazed over it then.
I looked at one today.
Yeah,
It
I got a
was in
chance to
your
try it too.
personal. Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't try it yet, but I saw it was coming from Clovis on Hurston.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, it says for the lawful, a lawful mission giver or organization requests the scrapping of a derelict. The location is secured by the organization with orbital sentries or centurions. The centurions is a nice touch for the ground ones, at least. The mission giver requests the scrapping of a derelict. The location is not secured in any way. Risk of being raided by pirates is present. And the unlawful one is mission giver organization asks for the salvage of a recent battle which is not accessible to civilians. Cordoned off, the location is secured by hostile orbital sentries or centurions. And this one I did not see yet. This one I remember seeing in the leaks is like 100-something-thousand UEC buy-in, because you're getting in for it's like a whole battle. But you can get in there and loot like the actual cargo boxes that are inside. And then, of course, you got the item detaching and attaching that you can do on all the ships. And I heard that gets you that can bring you up in the millions if you do that and sell all these things. So A7, did you get a chance to do? So did I just ask you that, or?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
I totally asked him that. Okay. All right. Well, Shadow, give your thoughts on the salvage contracts.
I think they're going to be cool. I just haven't had a chance to try them yet.
Yeah.
Because I had some issues with my internet earlier when everything was dropping down, and I was like, "Oh my god!" So I'm running around trying to fix it and everything. So when I did get in, I was impressed with the. I mean, when you first log into it, before you create your character, there's a little small button down there that says "Find a Guide," and that is something that they should have had in a long time ago. Just saying, it would have helped me find somebody that would have guided me when I dropped in 315 that first month. But now you have that option to just go in by yourself and go for it, or you can find somebody to help you, and that is a monumental piece right there. Once you get in and you wake up in the bed, you to your right on the screen, there's your keys. And that was cool because to be fair, nobody really looks at the hints when they pop up because they're so randomized. With that little guide over to the side right there, that's kind of slick. like Joe said, the signage on Area 18, it's it hits you in the face with that yellow. It makes it to where can be seen. The the map layouts that they've placed around the area. Cubby Blast has 5 terminals in it now compared to the 2. Um, they've also opened up the convention center so you can go check out where Invictus is going to be, and they also opened up Drake Defense Con at Rikers. The terminals have been moved in Rikers. They're not in the circle area anymore. They're over by the hangars. And there's a set of terminals. The elevators, I'm sorry. And in between, when you walk in with the elevator alcove, there's another set of terminals. So they've done quite a bit. And Lorville, oh my God. That is beautiful. Volumetric clouds on R-Corp. That's some amazing stuff right there. So I'm more than happy with that. And it was very stable. So fingers crossed. Let's hope they drop it a week before Invictus so they can find out what's going on with it before Invictus starts on the 19th. It's my take so far.
No issues?
I didn't have any issues that I saw. The only thing that I did see is when you're in Lorville, when you're coming in, you know how Lorville slows down graphically when you go in there.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm still exploring when I get back in there, and I'm pleased with it.
Okay. A7, you wanna tell us your experience with 319 so far? What you thought of it and what you got to do?
Yeah, so far, for the most part, I haven't done a whole lot in it. I didn't get much of a chance. I was able to kind of explore Lorville. Was the main goal that I had whenever I was in game. So I just explored around the perimeter, explored the main area, and then wound up getting my ship out, hovering over the city to see what it looks like from above. It is still rough, a little bit. It's still rough on your computer. It's a little hard on it. A little bit more so than before, but the trade-off is it is gorgeous. Like Shadow was saying, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's more filled out. Everything is more defined. The gold elements to all the buildings just pop.
Yes.
The smog that should have been there from day one is there. It is very present.
And it's hovering right above the Hurston building. Like a dark cloud. Yeah.
But yeah, whenever you think of a very industrial city, and the way you feel like that should look,
I'll bring this up.
It's they captured the essence perfectly. It is a city that is proud of what it is, while also being grimy, and dirty and smoggy, and it's the perfect remake of a city of this type. And like I said, it's a lot more dense now.
I'm going to say this real quick. There are areas in buildings where they have like areas where you can take a ship in and drop off things. Their active bays or whatever, or something like that. I took the Thunderstar through one just to see what it was like, man. It was awesome. It was fun.
They're trying to make it like a New Babbage, to where you have package deliveries, and then the buildings that have the the landing pads like that, they're gonna have interiors to it at some point.
Yeah.
So,
But that was so cool. It's hollowed out. You can see it, and I just flew the Thunderstar right through it just to do it, and it was fantastic. So
I got there at night, and I kept having the issue because they don't have any warning signs or anything popping up on your screen that tell you, hey, you're going into the restricted zone, and you end up just completely just disintegrating and respawning right back into the spaceport. It is so weird, and it happened to me 3 times because I'm trying to get like up close and personal with some of the buildings, and it just doesn't let you. So they need to add some warnings or something, because I have no idea where I can go and where I can't go.
Well, I got close to the Hurston building, just a little too close, and then all of a sudden, here comes the thing. You are impending ship and pound. So it did pop up for me.
It was actually my server. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I got the hell away from there, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I think it looks great. At least at nighttime, I didn't get a chance to see the smog or anything like that during the day.
Oh, during the day was awesome.
Yeah.
But I haven't been there at night yet. So.
All right. So let's see.
Concerned about those salvage contracts.
Pretty concerned about them? Ah, okay.
I am. I'm. Go ahead.
I was gonna say just real quick what happened with me in the quick instance that I got a chance to kind of try it out, and it seems like whenever you accept one of these, I accepted 2 of them, a Reliant Core and a what was the other one?
There's a 325.
Oh, the 300.
300.
The 300i, and I saw an Eclipse on there too, actually. So that would be good to steal torpedoes. But yeah, so I went to both of them, and they spawned 2 ships of the same one. And as far as on my server is concerned, there was no ability to attach or detach any of the components or rockets or anything like that. What you're supposed to do, what it says is you're supposed to, in the pilot seat, unlock everything, right? Just unlock everything. And then you should be able to have the ability with your tractor beam to take them off. But at least for me on my server, it wouldn't let me, period, no matter what. And something I want to note, if you go after the Reliant Cores, you cannot get into the pilot seat, because it is stuck in that position where the doors won't open because it's like sideways. If you know what I mean, because it's stuck in the position where it's sideways. So yeah, you can't get into the pilot seat like that. They do have cargo inside. I have not got a chance to sell it yet, but the Reliant Core had 2 or 3 boxes. And the 300i had 2 boxes in its cargo bay. So there's that. I didn't see any bodies or like weapons. There was nothing in the ship's inventory from what I could see. But yeah, that was my experience with it.
Well, I haven't had a chance to try it yet. So.
Well, Zook, you were going to say something?
Concern isn't so much how they work or how they operate. Because I'm sure they're going to be a little bit janky at first, but they'll work fine. My concern was the whole purpose, at least to my knowledge, of salvage was you were supposed to be following behind fights or attacks or missions that other players have been doing, whether it's a bounty hunting target, whether it's a assassination target, that kind of thing, and you're supposed to be quote unquote helping to clean up other things that's going on in the verse. You know, that they were supposed to sort of create a play interaction where you're linking up with other people to help find those wrecks as the universe unfolds, right? Well, if these contracts are plentiful and pay good, most salvaging crews will not. What's the point of linking up with a bounty hunting group or a combat group for protection, or to go after a target, or to go after the Idris? What's the point of doing that when you have these missions? And that will, at least in the short term, at the very minimum, in the short term, compound the issues that we're having as far as server degradation, because now you're having nobody cleaning up anything.
Yeah.
Or very, very few people cleaning up things. And then, two, you're having issues where they have to start despawning things, which just brings us to this issue of why have PES at that point in time. Now, originally, I think the vision for this was, and I could be wrong here, but I think the vision was originally, hey, player A went and killed a wing of 3 ships, and now these contracts were supposed to sell that location to where that fight happened, and all the ships that were wrecked in that area to a player, right? If someone killed the Idris at what's the NPC? Who's the NPC that gives the Idris mission?
Miles Eckhart.
My Eckhart. The Eckhart mission, right? If someone kills the Idris and they're not claiming it, they left, they've been gone for a long time, they could spawn a player mission to go salvage that Idris. Right? I think that's the original idea behind it. I don't know if that's still the goal.
I think we'll get them.
But I hope we do. I hope that's
maybe
what
not
these things
soon,
evolve
but
into.
I think at some
And
point.
these are, I hope these are just placeholders.
Yeah, I think they are.
But that does concern me.
I agree with you 100%. I was actually wanting to say that Zook, I'm right behind you on that. But I do think there are placeholders. I do think this is for now. I think that they're not doing the player spawned beacons on that yet because maybe they're waiting for munching and tractor beams.
I think that's probably a good assumption right there. That's what I would guess too.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Everything else, Lorville looks amazing. Ghost Hall PvP mission looks fun. It does mean my home with Microtech becomes not a very common lawful place now. So that's gonna be fun. Like Microtech, the safe haven for most people is now no longer a safe haven. But it'll be interesting. I think 3.19 is looking to be a good patch if they can make it even somewhat stable.
Yeah, 100%. All right. What's next?
So, just a quick little thing that I'm noticing.
Yeah.
I'm in game on Lorville. Went over to New Deal just to check, and there is a C8 Pisces on the stairs leading down to where you can check out the Connie. There is also a 400i sitting on top of the Hammerhead.
So that glitch is still there. Nice.
Yeah, that one's a little weird. But
apparently it still is, but there was always a bug where there's a place you can clip ships through and get into that playable area. It's really tight and hard to fly in there, but you can do it, and if it's still there, yay.
What is it? What are you talking about now?
So there's a place in the ship store area at Lorville where you can take smaller ships or medium ships.
Yeah.
And sort of like glitch the ship into that area.
Yeah, I did that a while back. Yeah, I took a dragonfly in there.
According to our friend A7 over here, it's still a thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I see pictures that people post on Reddit all the time of them doing it. So, yeah, good stuff. I see Vranish. He kind of commented on the whole detaching and attaching stuff, and he says there's a port unlock and key bindings in the cockpit.
Yeah.
When I went and looked at the key bindings, I didn't see anything that changed. I didn't see anything in the cockpit, any sort of like button for it, other than just the normal unlock thing. And let me scroll down to it here. My only issue is if that's the case, they don't say anything about it right here.
Right there.
So I'll read this off a little bit. Let's see. This iteration of the tractor beam gameplay will add functionality to the tractor beam attachment. This functionality can either be used on component exchange, replacement, restocking, or to scavenge for ships to use or make a profit. Players can lock and unlock the ability to remove weapons and components from the ship with a new port unlock option in the inner thought. This wasn't there.
That's what I sent you earlier.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the key bindings now. It is in the key bindings for vehicles dash cockpit, but it's not assigned to anything by default.
Okay. This portion, I read this a dozen times. But I think the one I read maybe wasn't like updated or something. I swear to God that this was not there.
Probably not. Because I sent that to you earlier in that private message, and you were like, "I've already fucking read that." I'm like,
this
damn.
part, yeah, this part wasn't there. And I kept rereading it because I was like, maybe I'm missing something. And right here, the only part that I know, I mean, everything else was there except for that little part. Unless I'm just a complete idiot, which is completely possible. I mean, I read this a dozen times, man. I swear that wasn't there. But regardless, inner thought menu. Okay. The only part that I read off and saw was this. And yeah, see, I'm like thinking more into it. This, it didn't say port unlock. It said the I don't know how they described it, but it literally just said the normal unlock that you would have. It said unlock exterior, and it pretty much unlocks everything. That's what it said. I remember seeing unlock exterior, and that gives you the ability to detach components. So they went in there and changed that at some point.
Read the Cotty leak. Naughty.
I clicked on this. I clicked on this right when it popped up, and it might have been like a typo or something like that because I had it up and I didn't, and I was like reading it off as I was playing. But yeah, okay. So while aiming at a component with a tractor beam to detach it, hold B, and it will highlight the object with a glow around it, its perimeter and shape. Left click and drag to pull the component. Loose from the socket or hardpoint. While attaching components, an AR marker will appear and give player guidance in the correct orientation to attach the component incorrectly. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go back and try that out. If it's yellow, then you got to rotate it. If it's red, it doesn't fit into that item port requirements. So that's interesting. I'm glad they.
It's gonna be a little janky.
Yeah, we'll see. If anybody in the chat had any experience with it yet, let us know your thoughts on it and if it needs to be improved or not, or what you thought was bad about it. So yeah, I when I saw them do it in the ISC, kind of covering it, I was just like, yeah, I could see that really frustrating people.
I tend to have issues just the tractor beam attachment in general.
Yeah.
When cargo, so now a whole other thing to and instead of square box is going to be different shaped objects. It's just going to wind up janky for me.
Yeah, somehow. The server I was on was pretty bad, but considering it wasn't as bad as 318.
I'm saying if the server can ever become stable, then it won't be near as janky.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
80% of our issues would be not there. So
It's a big ask.
yeah. All right, so we'll talk about the Ghost Hollow Reclaimer PvP mission. Adding a new mission type to the Ghost Hollow crash site on Microtech, making use of the comm array as well as AI nav mesh. This mission type will create PvP encounters where players will need to fight for control over terminals for a chance at big credit payouts. This is a mission with Outlaw UEC terminals in the Reclaimer Derelict. When active, they generate UEC that anybody can withdraw, creating PvP encounters between players trying to control the terminals, which are also guarded by Outlaw's AI. To start the terminals, the comms array must be disabled. If that is done, the terminals can be activated in the tower next to the derelict ship. To start this event at the Ghost Hollow crash site, a player will need to disable the Stanton 4 comm array above Microtech, which will enable the terminals, and a mobiGlass communication is sent to all nearby players. And my quick rundown of how this went was, I didn't get a chance to take down the comm array because obviously that takes a little bit of time. But I just went down there to see where the terminals are. And there's one on each half of the inside of the halves of the Reclaimer. And they've added like a garage with an Ursa in there and some windmill towers. So, yeah, I didn't get a chance to do much with it. But what about you guys?
Comment that I was
Nobody.
saying earlier about like the comms beacon at Microtech will never be up ever again.
No. And
Microtech becomes lawless.
This honestly is way easier. The way it's set up, from what I see, is it's a whole lot easier to take control of the area. And there's an actual beacon there now. Like there's an actual, you can jump to this location specifically, even when the mission isn't there. You can now see on the planet, it says Ghost Hollow in blue, and you can select it and jump there. So it's way easier to go there than Jumptown or Korea. So this is going to be easier to take control of from like, an org standpoint. And it's also going to be, I think, because it's easier to get to, it's going to be more dangerous just because it's more friendly to people being able to find it now. Other than that, we got the Lorville skyline. We pretty much talked about that already. So Shadow, you touched on a lot of this. So they moved the location of the Area 18 ASOP terminals closer to the hangar elevators. I don't know if that was ever an issue in the past with anybody trying to find them, because I feel like they were right there. But
there shouldn't have been, but especially a new player. But there's so many people that said they had 3 or 4 hours where they couldn't get to their ship,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm always shocked to hear that people took a couple hours to just get out of their hab.
Yeah.
That's always kind of shocking to me. But
well,
there might have been it's when I think about any sort of issues with it that could have happened, it was maybe for like a new player that doesn't know where to go. Probably sees the terminals. Either sees them, stops at the terminal, gets a ship, and then has no idea where the hell the elevators are, and ends up getting turned around. Or they go right past the terminals and find the elevators and have no idea where the terminals are. That's the only way I could see that going for new players. But performance polish patch for atmospheres and clouds, and updated volumetric atmosphere and clouds to ArcCorp. The clouds used to look so gritty and grainy. And now they're just so buttery smooth, and they actually look extremely convincing now. I haven't checked out Orson. Orson was the biggest issue with those clouds being grainy.
The whole planet is a cloud.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely took it took you out of the whole experience of being at Orson. Because either you had to have them turned off because performance issues, or they just look grainy.
I just turned them off because they were ugly.
Yeah, there you go. that's the other way of looking at that too. But yeah, so that's kind of self-explanatory. We talked about tractor beam goes hollow. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting one. I think everybody will be able to kind of contribute their thoughts to, is the Density Manager mission updates. Updated the Density Manager system so that the mission entities and things dropped by missions, such as corpses, guns, and debris, will be cleaned up when the area is streamed out. As we reuse item or mission locations, such as UGFs, the location will then be cleaned up of all mission items when the area is streamed out, while player drop things remain as usual. Reduced, rebalanced of the amount of ship weapons, missiles, and ship components that are currently sold in rest stops and LEOs. Temporarily removed Claim Jumper and Orson FPS missions for 319. All right, so what are you guys' thoughts on that? Is that good or bad?
Removed the FPS missions for 319 out of Orson.
Temporarily.
It's just the Claim Jumper ones. No one does those anyway.
No, I mean, those are first-person shooters. Those are platforms.
Right, but it's only temporarily removed.
Oh, I saw Claim Jumpers. I didn't see Orson there. I see now. So it's both Claim Jumpers and Orson. Okay.
Yeah, but it's important to see the first word, temporarily.
Temporary. Yeah, it's not going to stay.
I think with that, they're probably going to have an event there.
Yeah, we might see the Siege Orson probably soon.
Yeah.
I guess I'll pop in and start. I think I'll pop in. I'll start with this one. So, look at the list of what it's really saying it's doing. It's saying basically what they're doing is they're saying that this shocks me a little bit, that this really is the first iteration of them, or maybe an update to the current iteration, that when areas are streamed out from view, that things get cleaned up. This might explain a lot of the problems we run into, where we go into an area maybe shortly after somebody else has been in there, and it's a mess. Like, things are searched, blown up. You know, maybe, for example, the drug busting mission, maybe it's supposed to have a bunch of people in there. But as many times as I've gone there, it's very possible that somebody's already gone through there and cleaned house. And that's why the new stuff isn't loading in yet.
Yeah.
Possible. Not a guarantee.
I didn't think of it like that. Yeah, that's a good point.
So maybe there's a point here in which the reason why some of those missions don't work right is because the stuff was never cleaned up to begin with, and everything's in a state that was left behind. So I'm wondering if that's what really is going to be happening with that. But whereas players dropping things like I drop my cup or my gun, it stays there. So I hope this helps out with the entity density inside of the system.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this will help clean up, could be part of the reason, probably not the only reason, but probably part of the reason why servers get so crappy so quickly.
It could be.
So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Anybody else got anything to touch on that?
Sure.
I mean, I see it as a.
I like this, actually.
Go for it, Zoop.
I get the need to clean up, and if this is a temporary measure to help server performance in the short term, I can get behind it, right? Because ultimately, bunkers, UGFs, that's one of the low-hanging fruit as far as us seeing a history of a place, and it does make sense to some degree that after a big fight has occurred, that the UEE would come in, and once the place is secure, they would clean up the bodies. They wouldn't leave bodies in a facility that they're trying to secure, right? I kind of get it. I actually enjoy going down to a outpost and see the ships blown up outside, the history of what's been happening at this bunker, and going inside and seeing the bodies and seeing where the bodies were killed and where they. I can sort of like tell where they spawn and where the player was shot, where they was killed, or if I'm on a medical mission. No, this probably wouldn't apply to a medical mission because it wouldn't be streamed out, of course. But I always did like the question of what am I going to find once I go to a bunker mission. Like it did add a variety or a spice of life to the mission that those missions were sorely lacking, and they really did need.
I agree with you there.
Like I don't know if I like it. Again, I hope this is a temporary thing.
I think it is.
Look at it.
But I don't like it.
I'm gonna say this. Okay. We're dealing with so much lag and desync because of what is happening now. They need to do something or get better servers. Plain simple.
Get good, CIG.
Yeah, what the fuck are you guys doing over there, huh?
I mean, you're just saying it because this is the problem. Persistent entity streaming is working. Okay. You go to a bunker, there's so many shipwrecks out there, and you can't touch them unless you have the mission. So all that salvage is sitting there rotting until they decide to clean it up.
You're saying right now, that's the way it is. But once they get once they get now the salvage missions could give a salvaging claim access to that facility, right? To clean up the outside. We don't now. When again, it wouldn't take that much of it wouldn't take that much extra to accomplish that. That's what I'm saying. They could do that with the in-game tools that are now in the game as of 3.19.
Yeah.
Now, once they have ship munching, a salvaging group can legitimately take everything outside and completely clean it up. Now the question becomes, what do you do with the inside of the bodies?
Same thing.
Like UEE does, they would clean it up. So I could see if no one's been down there for the last 30 minutes cleaning it up, I could see that. Where the bodies don't lay there for an hour. But if it just happened 10 minutes ago, those bodies would still be there. I want those abandoned ships there until they are cleaned up by a player or even by an NPC. I want those bodies there until it's logical for them to have been removed.
Okay. But still, Zook, you still got to think of what else is going on behind that. I mean, I get it because I like to see the realism of it too. Don't get me wrong. But for us to have the better performance, it needs to be ticked up a bit.
No, at least for now until server meshing comes online.
Yeah.
Once server meshing comes online, you can probably dial it back quite a bit. In addition to that, things like drinks and food waste, we don't care about that. That can just self-destroy after maybe 30 minutes, an hour at most. You don't worry about that. But things like the ships themselves, like if it's a gameplay loop, it can't go immediately. It has to stay for a while.
I agree. But there have been so many bunkers that I've gone to where there's so much salvage that and you can't touch it. That stuff that should be cleaned up right away. I mean, not in 5-10 minutes. At least should stay there for at least a few hours and then be cleaned up. Because that's what's killing it. There's
like an NPC.
Mike, you've been around Port O. and Bikini Point, there were so many ships that were abandoned or trashed or whatever, sitting there, sucking up all the bandwidth.
Yeah, that's where you would well, this kind of goes back to what Zook said earlier. In addition to that, is that's that right there. It would, if a ship's been sitting there for so long, the server could just tick over and say, okay, generate a mission contract to salvage the ship.
Yeah, but it wasn't there yet. All I'm saying is when it comes, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And that's why I said, Shadow. I said, I hope this is a temporary measure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we're
I
not
get
arguing.
that.
We're not arguing should this be in game or not, because it's in game. I'm hoping this is a temporary measure to that they can, like Payne said, dial back later once they have server meshing, or this PES is more stable, or the servers are more stable, because that part of going down there and finding a situation that wasn't standard spawn out of elevators type of situation is a very fun and spice of life
Yes.
part of the game, and that
Yes.
was the whole purpose behind PES. Whereas if
Yes.
you just stream everything out to protect the performance
No.
of the servers,
You can't stream everything out of it right away. That
I mean,
takes away the immersion.
even if you do it after an hour or a couple hours, right? If you do it automatically, just pure automatically, what's the point of having PES at that point?
Yeah.
What's the point of having a system where an item could persist for weeks or months at a time? Right? What's the point of having that? Because now you're defeating the purpose of PES in the first place.
Well,
Like I said, I hope it's a temporary measure until it's stable or until they have server meshing.
No.
But it's for me,
no.
if the solution is to stream out and they end up doing that for almost everything, and it's already looking like it's maybe heading that direction, I hope that direction isn't permanent.
No,
well,
it's
I
it's
agree
only,
with you. Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah, I was
Mike.
gonna say
Sorry.
it's only for mission drop things. So, for example, if you go in there and pick up a gun, that's your gun now. You own it; it won't disappear. But if it's like a box or something that was generated by the mission, that'll get wiped when you go away. Or if it's a you know, a piece of equipment that you never touched. I think the real trick here is only if player interact with said something during these missions, when they spawn these missions, then you keep it. You have a keep alive timer that kicks on. If you don't interact with said thing, so like say for example that's a body that you didn't touch, that you didn't loot or whatever, and the mission, you go away from the mission has to despawn and then spawn again. You can't have bodies constantly spawning in an area. That's going to make things worse.
Exactly.
But in cases of things like ships, those are going to have to stay. They're going to have to mark things that are important to say. Like there's going to have to be an order of operations.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that as well. It's certain things need to stay, certain things can go. There's things that I don't care if I see it on the ground 1 second and it's gone the next. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to most everybody in the game. I don't think it should be a timeout system though. Maybe a FIFO, first in, first out. So if an area of the map is getting too many entities within it, then the oldest stuff that's been there the longest should start spawning out.
But again,
It's a system
that is
a density manager. That's how it currently
the
works.
current density master, yeah. But the update to it specifically is the update to it would be things like the reduced rebalance of the amount of ship weapons, missiles, and ship components that are currently sold and rest stops and LEOs. Stop. Y'all need to go lay down. Sorry, my dogs are just like beating up my
Fine,
ass.
I'll go lay down.
But like we don't have to really drive hard on this because again, like the other major piece of tech that's coming through and down the pipe is server meshing. And server meshing comes in, this density stuff is going to be less important, and PES is still going to matter. PES will matter now, so I would just say let's ride it for now. It's going to be fine. Just let them get server meshing in, and then any form of balancing is going to come into play at that point in time. That's really where we're at. Sit and ride.
I really think that CIG they're over time they're just trying to figure out what's the best way. They're trying to test what's the best way to go about PES and the density manager system, because I think they're just going to plug and play some stuff for a little bit, and whatever makes sense they're going to keep. I mean, that's what we'd hope, right? Whatever makes sense they'd keep, and whatever doesn't they would take out and maybe replace with something else. So yeah, hopefully it'll change. But
this is where it's important to remember that we're in an alpha. We are in the testing ground. We are in the sandbox testing this stuff, and this is to the audience. And I'm sorry, Joe, I realized I cut you off. I apologize.
no, you're okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So to the audience, remember that this is the things that you're going to test and you're going to have headaches with, but you got to remember, when we get through this and we get into the next thing, whatever this is right now will be good for that next thing. So just remember, you're going through a testing process. That's all.
There's going to be a lot of things that they implement that you're not going to like, and hopefully they'll listen to us and change for the better. So that's what's supposed to be happening. That's the whole purpose of us testing out their alpha. So yeah. Kind of in the same vein of everything we've been talking about, I did want to ask a question I thought was pretty interesting. When it comes to the idea of CIG temporarily taking things out of the game to make it perform better, how lenient are you with that kind of idea?
100%.
So
Yeah, completely.
King is 100% on board, and so is A7. So completely just take out whatever just to make things work in the short term, so that way they can figure out a solution to something in the future.
What
Yeah,
kind of things?
So
Again, it depends on what it is. Like, let's take the reclaimer out because it's broken right now. Like, do you really
No,
want
it's
to do
not.
that?
Yeah.
The reclaimer is just the claw doesn't work right now.
No,
There's
no, shut
supposedly-
up.
No, there's
What?
other things going on with it.
There's other things going on with it.
Well, I don't fly the damn thing, so I don't know.
Like the floors don't work. You fall through the floors. But Zook was making a point as an example.
Mhm.
Yeah. So like for an example, if the reclaimer is in like complete disarray, 100% not working, pull it out until
Yes.
it's fixed and then put it back in. Is that what you were
Well,
saying, Zook?
Yeah, exactly. I don't like the idea of them taking it out of the game, and just removing it completely until it's working. It's an alpha. We all know it's an alpha. There's a lot of things in this game that is going to be broken. By that standard, Grim Hex shouldn't have been into the game during the whole elevator broken. Am I right?
Yeah.
Or during the doors opening. I
Well-
don't want them. I don't want them to have a low-hanging fruit of let's remove this object feature or whatever it is. because
Okay.
it's
Well, the
broken
Cutlass Black
and
was
keep
removed
pushing
because it
the
was
game.
killing everybody. So they gave them an MSR. Right?
That was just
No.
temporary.
Yeah.
No,
The
that was
the
still
Cutlass Black
full.
wasn't removed. Okay, it was still
not
in there.
removed.
They just gave you a loaner for it. So, and then they issued the warning, hey, maybe you don't want to fly that thing. So it's not like it was actually taken out or anything like that.
An
Well,
idea for me
this-
would be
My only point towards this where I was trying to go with this question was, I guess in regards with PES in general, like if there are parts of PES that aren't working, you know, are you guys for them kind of doing kind of like what they're doing now, is switching things on and off, testing various different things, and so to the point where, like, what is your threshold of them being able to turn certain parts of PES off in certain areas? Like
I don't think they're going to. Oh yeah, sorry.
There's a. I just want to hop into this and say my piece on this one.
Persistent
Because I know I'm
entity
probably
streaming, Jeremy.
I'm probably not in the majority on this one. When it starts affecting the gameplay, I'm not gonna like it. If the world doesn't feel alive anymore because they're being aggressive, I'm not gonna like it. Now I understand that they're gonna have to. That especially until server meshing comes online, and especially dynamic server meshing, this is going to happen to some degree. I hope it's one of those situations where, like, you're given a budget for a job or a project, and you're going to have to slash until you're under budget. Like, we know it's going to happen. The slashes are going to suck. The gameplay features that we're going to miss, right? But that's the reality of life as of now, and there's nothing we can do about that, right? I will happily recognize that fact. That said, I hope it's temporary, because I'm hoping that server meshing and dynamic server meshing remedy that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that they could probably add to some of these updates. Like I feel like that would have been probably important to add in there for the density manager updates. So let us know, is this something that you guys are thinking about keeping, or is it something that's, you know, something that they can do right now to alleviate things? But yeah, did everybody else get a chance to hop in on the question there? Everybody's good?
I think Alpha and Shadow should probably answer.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
But I agree. If something is not working correctly and it's hurting the players, it's hurting the servers, it's hurting the environment, pull it until you fix it.
Well, in some situations, the only way they can fix it is to let it run broke. You know,
I understand that, but
let us suffer.
Sometimes it's best to cut the fucking thing out and do what you got to do. Period. Because Xenothreat, I'm sorry, great event. It was killing us. It was killing it. The point where it was almost where the PU was unplayable for 2 weeks. I'm sorry, CIG. That was wrong.
Do you guys think that the data that they got out of the Xenothreat event, do you think that was data worth collecting at that point in time?
Worth it.
Worth it.
It's worth it, but for 2 weeks, it died in less than 48 hours.
I know. We all played through that, Shadow.
I'm just saying.
There was several nights last week that I played Divinity Original Sin, and I did play Star Citizen. We've all been there. We all experienced it. We all agreed that it was unplayable, right? Yeah. But at the same time, like, the PU is not there for your enjoyment. It's not.
All I'm saying, Zook, is when you have something that is detrimental to a environment, turn it off. So find out what's wrong with it and then kick it back on.
Go ahead, A7.
It ran fine in the PTU. And it did have issues there. I'm not saying, I just feel that 2 weeks was too long.
Okay, I mean, that's fair to just argue.
They could have changed the timing or something.
Yeah. Anyway, Alpha, go ahead.
Well, my main thing is I believe they should have pulled it. I do believe all data is valuable, but when the PTU is running better than the PU and people are not wanting to play because of an event that you're trying to run on the PU that you could also test on the PTU instead, then you're only it's detrimental to yourself. If people aren't playing, people aren't testing. So if you're introducing something that's going to cause people to stay away from the game until it's gone, you're not getting as much valuable data as you should be. And I that's kind of my main issue with it.
I would challenge you guys on this point. Actually, Pan, do you want to say something? Sorry, make sure.
No, I was going to kind of make a similar argument, but if what they should, in my thought, if they saw the problem happening, they should have opened the PTU to be playable.
I agree with that.
Absolutely,
100% agree with that.
I mean, I'm looking at the PTU right now, and it literally just says this is an early test build and not indicative of gameplay content on the official live servers. But why is this the better version of it right now?
Because not as many people on it, and it's a fresh build.
90% of the people don't download the PTU. There's nobody in my org out of more than 100 people don't even have the PTU.
Kind of what I'm driving at is why I say it's worth it, because two things. One, generally speaking, the PTU's universe, the stuff you bought, the items you stored, the stuff you left in an outpost in local storage, at a mining outpost kind of thing, that stuff isn't there on the PTU. You don't have that backlog of things that you're going to have after a server's been running for 2 weeks on a PTU. You don't have that. You're never going to have that on the PTU. You never will have that on the PTU. Then you also don't have the massive number of players on the PTU that you have on the PU. Even if you opened it up to everybody, you're still not going to have it, because like Joe said, you're not going to have them download it. You're not going to have them play it, so you won't be able to test it at anywhere close to scale. Like, it was hard. It sucked. It was a bad experience. I completely agree. But the reality of the situation is, especially from a technical troubleshooting standpoint, if you want to make a change, you have to make that change and see if it fixes it, see how it happens, see how it evolves.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, whenever I was working at another previous company, that a file server was having an issue. We would put in a fix, we think it's fixed, and then 4 days later it would occur again. Talking to the president or the local editors of that site and saying, look, I think it's fixed. I'm going to put it into production and cross our fingers and see in 4 days if it crashes again. That is a thing in this industry, in the IT field, in the computer server field, right? Mm-hmm. As much as we hate it, and as much as it is painful, it is part of the process, and it is not avoidable. And the only way they can get that data, any kind of quality data, is putting it on the PU. And that comes from PES. Once we get to server meshing, once we get to dynamic server meshing, that'll probably be different. But because we're dealing with a database system, a brand new, never before used in any other game out there, ever before system, we don't know how it's going to react at scale, and the only way to find out is to put it at scale. And the only way to do that is at PU.
Well, Zook, I defend CIG a lot of the time. And you know I do. Because I play the game every day. Mm-hmm. But to me, and I'm not saying that I'm privileged or anything like that, but 1 week was more than enough.
I think the timing, they definitely could have done better with the timing. I don't know what would have been a better solution to the timing, but definitely
everybody knows.
I don't think 2 weeks, because I mean, when you think about it, it's weird. I have I kind of agree with both sides of everybody here, because I see the good in both sides, and I'm kind of, if it's unplayable, I'm all for going off and playing something else. I'm totally cool with it. I've made my peace with that a long time ago, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, people just coming straight out of the really bad 318 launch, and people went how long without being able to play, period. And then the moment 318.2 comes out, it was a sign of a little bit of relief for people, and they thought they would be able to get in, which they did. You were able to get in for maybe a couple days, 2 or 3 days, and actually play 18.2, right? And it was like, wow, this is so much better, right? And even I was telling people, like, come on in. It's actually, working this time. And as soon as people get in, they throw the event out there. And even in my head, I didn't think it would be that bad. And it turned out to be pretty bad. And people still aren't able to play. And it's just, it's, I think they could have given people at least a little bit of time to be able to get in and kind of just do basic shit for a little bit and enjoy it, and then give us the event at some point, right? But I don't know.
And you know what, Joe? Sorry, Zoo.
100%.
Go ahead, Shadow.
I think for a week, giving us a week of something stable, and then throw out the event to see what would happen. I think that would have been a better way to introduce 318.2 than throw it out with Xenothreat 4 hours later, 24 hours later. It's dying. Just my thought.
They could have given us more time to enjoy it without Xenothreat, which is a possibility. But at the same time, Fleet Week's right around the corner. They need to get 319 out to PTU. They need to get that data so that they can fix 319, so that it can go live prior a week, at least a week prior to Fleet Week being out.
I hope so.
Imagine
they're dealing with a time crunch, and they may have wanted to, but wasn't able to. Yeah. And because at the end of the night, at the end of the day, you never know what these servers will do after they've been live for 2 weeks, until you let them be live for 2 weeks. Like back when while we were still on 17.5 on this show, we discussed this, and I said, look, there's going to be issues with PS that will come up 5 months, 6 months, maybe a year after these servers have been running.
Yeah.
That you won't know, you're not going to be aware of until they run for those 6 months to a year, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be issues. There's just a lot more issues than they thought was going to be there. There's a lot more issues than we thought they were going to be there. Xenothreat a lot harder on the servers than they thought was going to be there. And at the end of the day, the only way they can get the data to fix it is to let it run in that state for a length period of time. So long as it's not 30K the server, right? And I know Ranish was talking about the quality of data. As long as the servers are not crashing, they are getting live, real-time quality data that they can use to move forward. And the big tell here for us, for me, is, okay, CIG, we're having to deal with this. Now let's make something of it, right? Again, I'm not trying to show for CIG, but at the end of the day, this is part of those growing pains. You can't avoid it. And the only, and like, for example, next year, when they get this resolved and we move on, there may be another time period, maybe even before we get server meshing, where there's a similar bug that happens after the PU running for 6 months.
Oh, dude, I see 4.0 going down.
Yeah,
to 2.
and this whole process starts all over again.
Yeah.
Right, this whole process is going to start all over again. And
4.0 is going to be a train wreck.
Oh man.
so I hate to say it, and as much as I hate to enjoy it, or I hate to experience it,
Hate to enjoy it.
Yeah, I hate to enjoy it. Masochism right over here. No,
I mean, I'm not trying to make it hard for CIG, but I've experienced the hellhole. Okay, I see 4.0 going to be a very rough patch.
There's several people in my org that have basically said, I'm putting the game down, I'm putting it away, I'm playing other games completely right now because the game isn't in a state in which I can find enjoyment in it. That it's causing me more frustration than enjoyment, and these people know themselves, I respect them, and for them I agree with that is the correct action. And as much as I hate it, as much as I miss it,
do what's right for you.
Do what's right for you. Like this, there is no. At the end of the day, there is no other way of getting the data, except for doing it the way they're doing it. And if that's not workable for you, then come back in 6 months.
Exactly.
Like,
and I've said that to a lot of people that if you don't have a tough enough skin to deal with what's happening, let it go for a while. Don't stress yourself out because you're only hurting yourself. You know.
And I was gonna bring up the fact that I was gonna defend you, Shadow, a little bit because I think you're the only one here that plays every day. You know, so for you, it's a bigger deal than the rest of us when things don't work because you actually want to get in every day. You know, you want to stream every day. You're very consistent. You're the only person I think I know that is that consistent about playing every day. You know, other than your Hogwarts Sundays. But yeah, like I completely get, you know, why you would be frustrated, you know, along with the other people that you know, really want to get in there and enjoy the game every day. But I think just how things are, you can't.
Yeah,
you can't.
And I go play Hogwarts. I've started with Jedi Survivor, and I mean, even though I'll probably hop on, see if I can get in, play by myself a little bit, I still get in every day.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times that I can't stream that. You know, I can't make a video of this because it's just screwed. So I go do something else. And man, I'm loving Jedi Survivor. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that patch. I'm waiting for that game to get patched, but I think me and my wife are wanting to play Dead Island 2 together. So I'm waiting on.
Mike, I'm gonna tell you, even though it has not been patched, I didn't really have a problem. But I mean, they're patching it now. They're patching it a lot for some reason on Steam. I don't know why.
I downloaded it. For PC, I downloaded a patch yesterday and today, and I played it. I streamed it earlier today, and I had little to no issues, at least for myself. So
it's much better.
I mean, yeah. Even the patch before that, it seemed like things were pretty good. There's just some stuttering in the cutscenes, but other than that, it wasn't like unplayable or anything. It wasn't.
But day one, I had an issue where it was messing with my system so bad. But then when I looked at it on YouTube, there was no issues. So it was weird, man.
Oh wow, that is weird.
So I ended up wiping it off of a drive that I had it on and putting it on another drive, and I haven't had the problem. It was throttling the other drive. You could hear it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So once I cleared it out, I haven't had a problem with it.
Yeah, I installed it on an NVMe just initially. Even day one, didn't really have an issue with it. Once when it initially started, the like game developer logos and everything like that, those were choppy. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a terrible experience. But then going into the game, it was like, well, we're going to pre-cache all these shaders, and once it did that, it ran fine.
Yeah.
I have it actually installed on a hard drive, not a SSD.
Me too.
So, yeah.
Me too. But I just had to say that I love SC. That's my primary, but I'm just not happy with the way they did this, where the 2 weeks was going on, because there's a lot of people that were really upset about it. And myself, I say, okay, cool. But then I just go on to something else.
I think that, whenever they advertise for Star Citizen and they say playable now, I think they need to change that to they need
to
they need to, I think they should change it to testable now or something like that, like test it now or something like that. Have the word tester in there or something like that. Like, start getting people used to the idea of being
play
a tester.
test now.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'll be right
Fair
back.
point, Joe.
There you go.
That's a fair point. I like that.
I do agree
People-
with you there.
People need
Yeah.
to understand they're not there to play the game. They are there to test.
They're there to test the game.
And buying ships, like one of the first things you need to let people know is that buying a ship is supporting development. It's not. That's why they're expensive. It's not like they're just DLC or something, right?
You're paying for someone's salary.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you are paying for someone to eat some fish and chips overnight.
It's essentially their own Kickstarter. You're getting a perk. You're getting a perk from helping them make something.
You know what? You kind of hit something a little bit I want to address real quick.
Sure.
And again, to the audience primarily, that is the important piece of information you need to walk away with, especially from tonight, is you are a playtester in a sandbox, that you are playtesting things that are probably broken. And no matter how you personally feel about something, you have to remember that these guys are working hard, and CIG's biggest problem is probably always be how they communicate. So
be mad at
just
marketing.
and their marketing. So my perspective is I see how hard these dudes are working. And as somebody who goes through this, like, for example, we just had a major regression in our game code. And I had to spend an entire weekend fixing all these problems after we updated something. Well, the people at CIG who are responsible for communicating these things are community managers, and they do the best they can, but I don't think they actually have the resources or a proper process to get the information to us and receive the information from us.
It could be.
So
that just means it needs to change if that's the case.
Yeah, they just need to get a better job at it. But remember, guys, don't blame the developers and don't assume that they're doing nothing. I've seen that comment quite a bit, and like, not just from one source. A lot of people think that these guys are sitting doing nothing. They are working hard.
I also want to point out one thing real quick to jump off of Payne's point. Back when 18.2 was coming and it had Xeno threat, we were all in agreement that the Xeno threat this time was a thing and was being pushed out at the behest of engineering and not from marketing. We had all the signs that this was clearly a free fly that was designed and put out there by the engineering team because it needed the data. That should have been a sign for all of us that this was going to be bad. We didn't know how bad, and they said, be prepared for it to be bad. And it was again, like 18.0, worse than we thought it was going to be. But, we can definitely tell this was engineering looking for data. For good or for worse.
Yeah. Remember, this year's going to be rough, guys. So be prepared for it. It's
probably next year, too, because next year may be server meshing. If that happens, it's just going to get even more worse than it is now. So
maybe.
Fingers crossed we're all wrong.
Yeah, fingers crossed we're wrong. There will be hiccups, no doubt in my mind. But just remember, once the goal is to get past the server meshing hurdle. And once you're past that server meshing hurdle, and there's been a few patches to stabilize things, we're gonna look back at this time and say, "Man, that was a crazy."
When
That's
you
really what
when you do
love
look back at it, right? They came out, I think it was like 4 years ago. They actually laid out the list of things that they needed to happen for the game to be to go to beta, right? And the last thing on that list 4 years ago was server meshing. Now, who knows if anything will ever get added, but as of right now, that is the final piece because we have everything else. So, well, as far as the back end tech goes. So maybe Vulkan's next, right? But that's kind of an easier thing to kind of get in there. But server meshing is it. So after that, fingers crossed, they just got to finagle some stuff around to make it work. And
once server meshing, and especially dynamic server meshing, is in the game, the rest of it is just content.
Yeah.
Like
they can focus on the things that actually we care about. The reason why we're not getting anything right now is just because server meshing's not there.
Like there's a whole content it's probably already created that's pending these core texts coming.
That would be lovely if it was already there, created.
Like Pyro.
Like, we're saying we know it is. We know it is. We know there's at least some content in what's the Squadron 42 system? Odin?
Odin, yes.
Yeah, we know basically Odin's for the most part built out.
Oh,
we don't know how much work we'll have to do to go from Squadron 42 to the PU, right? But for some degree, Odin is mostly built out now.
And there's 2 other systems in there too, minimum. 2 other systems other than Odin.
So there's a lot of gameplay content out there that's waiting for this core content so that they can be patched over. Now, how much of it, how much time will it take to polish, how much of that is workable, we don't know. We just don't know. But at the same time, we know there is content out there that is waiting for the core features to be done. So at the very minimum, they are done. Whatever patch that is, there's going to be an avalanche of content. We don't know how much. We don't know what kind.
It is snowballing right now. It is to some degree. We are progressing,
Like A, we're going to see that, and 2, once the core tech comes in, more teams will be able to focus on bringing content to the game, as opposed to building stuff temporarily for tech that hasn't been created yet. So like this is like one of the last rough growing pains, guys. Just be with us, bear with us. If you can't, go play something else and come back in a year.
My dog got herself caught up on something. I'm sorry about that, guys.
That's all good, man.
Incoming paid DLC time.
Shit.
Yeah. Who's ready to buy an apartment?
No.
I wanted to ask you guys something else. Payne, did you have something else there?
No, I was going to ask if we were ready to move on to the leaks topic, or.
Oh, almost. Yeah, I wanted to ask one more question though. What do you guys think of? Because we were on the topic of there's not enough testers essentially to be able to get the data a lot of the times that they need in different situations. What do you guys think of? Now I haven't really thought it out too much, but what do you guys think of incentives for people to get in there and test? So if they could make the test in itself an event and at least give you some sort of maybe flair or something, something to get in and say, hey, that you're there, you're playing the game, and it kind of alleviates the fact that, maybe it's going through some issues, not the most pleasant experience.
They gave people ships in 317.
Yeah, that is one way of doing it. Yeah, but I think they need to clearly communicate, hey, if you come in and test during this window of time, you would get whatever.
like if they structured it properly, it's a very good idea. And I think one of the well, I've had similar conversations about this in the past with Boxhopper, for example, and I think he had a really good idea. If you had a situation where we're doing a crunch time and we're doing we want a massive number of tests, right?
Yeah.
And you say, okay, I want if you can be online playing the game, logged in your body for 3 hours within like a 12-hour period.
Yeah.
Because the goal is to get massive numbers during a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Then if you get at least 3 hours in that 12-hour period, then you get a flare item, a ship skin, or extra outfit or armor, or whatever, a gun, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I think that would work very, very well. But they would have to structure it in such a way where it gets them together at the same time. They can't just say, if you played a day in this 1 month period. It would have to be very specific.
Yeah. I think they could do it right. But look at the I mean, what I'm thinking of is look at the like the referral points program that they have. Like the last tier is literally like an Idris or something, right? Like you get an actual Idris for getting like 1,000 referral points, right? And just imagine if they applied that, be like, hey, you got different tiers to testing, right? Maybe you've sent in I don't know, like you sent in your bug reports and they've been acknowledged that to help in some way. I know this is probably not the best way.
That'll be gamed.
Well, I'm saying if they could do it right somehow, I don't know if they could, but have some sort of tier system where you test the game and you get different tiers of whatever.
Well, they got to streamline the issue council to make it easier for people to do this.
Issue council is pretty streamlined.
No, it's not. There's so many different tiers to go through to put in a freaking thing.
As far as tickets are concerned, it's one of the best ticket systems that I've seen.
I have seen.
Dude, I've seen something better that I could run an SLA in 1 day.
It is not the easiest to navigate for people.
I'm not trying to give you a hard time on it, Duke. It's just that a lot of people who play the game don't know how to navigate that thing. It needs to be a little bit more streamlined.
Most people who
because they're not bug testers, man.
I completely. We are bug testers. Congratulations, but most people who run most ticket systems in any IT structure in any company out there hates their ticketing system because the ticketing system is obtuse. They don't understand why it's structured a certain way. It doesn't communicate with the users very, very well. That's the nature of a ticketing system that was created by an engineer to people who are not engineers. And there's almost no way of getting around it. And of the ticketing systems like Jira, Remedy, that I've messed with over the years, the ticket system for this is one of the best ones that I've seen out there. I wouldn't say it's the best, and it can always be better, but for the purposes of what it's doing, pretty damn good. And you're having non-engineers dealing with an engineering system. Like, non-engineers are communicating with engineers in a way that engineers need to be able to troubleshoot the system. And there is no good solution for that. There's just not.
No.
They speak different languages. They speak different worlds. They think about things differently. They have different priorities. And back to what Joe was saying about the ticket system, like if you do, points for making a ticket, that have been approved. Okay, let's 10 people together. Let's all make BS tickets all day long, and let's all approve each other's tickets.
I'm not trying to solve it right now.
Yeah.
I just thought I wanted to get your general thoughts of the idea, right? Like I'm not trying to figure out the inner workings of how that would be because I don't know the answer. I just thought it'd be kind of interesting. Like I think there is a way of doing it that could work.
Yeah. Again, if you have a system where every 3 or 4 times a day, or not today, but 3 or 4 times a week, or maybe just once a week, there's a small window of time, you know, a 12-hour period, where if you get 3 hours in, you can get a point towards a total that can start earning you towards it. And if you earn, say, 52 points at the end of the year, you get a ship. Like, I think that would be a really cool thing that they could do. But it would be hard to structure it in such a way where it can't be played. Like, for example, during Xenothreat, one of the guys in my org had his account signed in, doing nothing but sitting in a hab, earning money from Xenothreat.
Yeah, well, I fully think CIG is completely aware of that. You know, that thing. So
yeah, and it's that's the thing. I think it could be cool if they do it, but I'm not sure if you can do it in a way that wouldn't be gamed.
Yeah.
Well,
what?
I mean, I'm just as a person who has put bugs in, okay? There are some people who just will not because they don't understand the structure. The structure is not streamlined enough for a layman to use it.
Well, Zook, kind of. Oh, go ahead, A7.
I was going to build on what Shadow's saying. Why is there not a way to report issues directly in game? Why do you have to go to an external website? Is that not something they can build a dialogue box in game?
The game's usually breaking, and whenever you're coming up with an issue where the bug's occurring, you're generally experiencing the break, and which would generally prevent that report from being able to be filed. So, like,
Yeah,
for example, if it's a bug where you fell to the ground of a ship, right? And they set up a system where it records the last 30 seconds of gameplay, so that all you have to do is hit a button and say, this is a bug, right? That would create so
I can't even imagine
the amount of data that would create filled their servers within less than a week.
I didn't think about that.
Most of that data would be junk, absolutely junk data that they could never use, right? Like, you mean the best in the world, and you're trying to be helpful with these suggestions, and I think it's a really cool thought experience. But, like, from the technical backend standpoint, like, one of the hardest parts of these ticketing systems, and usually the reason why they're built up that way, is to filter out redundant, useless, and data that gets in the way of you solving the problem.
And then if you just give anybody the ability right then and there to voice their opinion, right?
Oh my God.
Most people have no idea how to properly communicate the bugs to CIG, right? And most people get pretty upset. So all that emotion's going to go right inside the little trouble ticket, right? It's going to be like, this game is big poopy. I hate it. Refund now. And
then how do you correlate for that?
So that's all the messages are ever going to be, you know? So I feel like there needs to be an external thing, because it gets people who have full intention of wanting to fix something and has the knowledge on how to do so, because they actually care. They're going to go on the website and they're going to take the time to sit there, spend 20, 30 minutes, however long it takes, to write up a trouble ticket and put it in the proper place, in the proper forum and thread and all that kind of stuff. And to let everybody else see it, upvote it, and the ones that get the most upvotes get fixed.
Can I give you an example of one that kind of
that doesn't make any sense either? Upvotes? Seriously?
People, their whole thing about it is the more that it's affecting people, the more upvotes it's going to get. And so those are the ones
critical gameplay breaking things. That is when you look at it, not how it is upvoted. That is Spectrum horseshit.
If it's only happening, if something is happening to one person, that's not going to be their priority fix. So
Even if it's
if
critical for that person.
I don't know, I don't think it's a perfect system by any means. I was just relaying the information they give us on it, on why it's there.
Like if there's a
No.
critical game breaking bug for you and no one else is experiencing it, even if it's critical for you, they have bigger bugs to deal with right now in the middle of development.
Well, we understand that, but it's still an upvote should not be the case. If people add to that one ticket that is constantly giving everybody a problem, then yes, jump on it. But still, things that are critical when a player comes across it should have some visibility, not be buried down at the bottom of the pile.
You can't validate one person's experience that they had.
I'm not trying.
They have the ability to say if it's critical or not, right? And CIG, with it having to do with one person, they don't know if that's an accurate statement or not. They don't know if it's actually critical or not.
I'm not trying to say one person's thing is critical. Okay?
But
If another person encounters it, I know it has to escalate because that's the way this thing works. All I'm saying is that it needs to be done, but it needs to be streamlined so certain people can understand what they're putting in.
Purpose of the upvote is to make it very apparent to all the users that if there's already been a ticket created for the issue you're experiencing, that you can go to this ticket, add content to that ticket, as you said, and that becomes the upvote. It's not just like a click a button and you're done. It's literally, here's the content.
That's
here's
what
my
I'm
submission.
talking about. It's got to have
to the ticket.
It's got to have some
right?
content to be upvoted.
And that's what that is. That's what that upvote is. That is literally what that is. Now, what happens more often than not, the reason why it's so hard to find these tickets is because you'll have 100 people make a ticket about the Cuddy Black killing you when you're sitting in the driver's seat, and CIG has to on the back end say redundant ticket, redundant ticket, redundant ticket. Okay, add to this one, add to this one, add to this one, add to this one. Like that, a lot of time and man hours, literal man hours, goes into sorting these things out to isolate what is the problem. And the upvoting piece is so that of the thousands and thousands of tickets they get every single day, we are only going to have someone physically read the ones that get upvoted by at least 10 people, because that's all they have time for. It's not a matter of like we don't think it's a bad idea, or that they're not saying Shadow, your ticket is worthless. They're saying like, look, there may be another ticket out there for your same issue that did get upvoted. They're gonna read it. Or if your issue is so singular to you that you couldn't get reproductions from other people, that it may be a legitimate bug, but now is not the time to deal with it because it's not large scale, right? Like that's what I'm saying. That there's reasons for each one of the features that are in this ticketing system, and they're ugly, they're painful, they're annoying. I agree with you, but that's how these systems are, to get good quality data to the engineers in a timely fashion for a company who has limited man hours.
Well, that's where it happened. Dude, I worked in IT with UPS. I had to deal with an SLA constantly. Okay? I'm just saying, I'm not trying to make it any harder than what it is. It's just that the categories that they're putting things in, people are they're putting them in the wrong categories. That's why things don't get escalated.
There's also, it really is a two-part scenario. Their tech support does have problems with the ability to be able to resolve issues, especially now, for example, since the character reset thing is being put on the back burner. That's a good example. But there are also things like redundant tickets being made that are not so visible. So, for example, I made a ticket on derelict missions where I would pick up equipment, and then it would condense all of my stuff onto the floor, my body, my hands, my head, everything. And I made a ticket for that, because I did not see that there was other tickets about that. In fact, when I went to search, they were just so old it didn't matter. So what a lot of players don't do is they don't go look at the tickets that currently exist, especially for hot button items. They just make a new ticket and move on. They don't bother to read what's going on because they don't have the time. They're in a hurry, basically. What would alleviate a lot of these focus issues is focusing on finding the tickets that have the exact same problem as you, contributing to that ticket in some form or fashion, add to it, therefore it gets upvoted, therefore it has a reaction, therefore, you know, it gets higher on the list. The higher on the list that goes, the more reactive the devs are going to be to that. This is not like a standard IT system where you or I or somebody gets a ticket from a customer, I can't reset my password, where it's a queue where you get one after another. It's not how they're working. They're not working in the queue system. They're working in a let me open the blog book to say today to see what the worst case scenario is, and then work from there. So they have to prioritize what actually is broken. Like, so for example, if an entire PES system goes down, all the tickets that we have about the Cuddy Black's seat breaking everybody's back and creating shenanigans for everybody, it doesn't matter anymore. They have to fix PES. So we all have to think about the bigger picture when it comes to this stuff. It can't just be one size fits all. It's never going to work. It's going to be a headache until things have cleaned up. And there is no more Xenothreat crashing servers kind of deal. So.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on because we are running out of time. That was that was a long one. I didn't think we'd get stuck on so easily. All right. So, on a different note here, guys, look at this. Look at this right here. Added Corsair Cutter and C8R to Pisces to in-game shops. Look at that. That's great, huh? Isn't that fantastic?
They pulled it for 318.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's in there.
And they said 3 months later, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah, 319. 3 months later. Uh-oh. Almost saw my porn. Okay, so let's go ahead and go on to the leaks now.
Yeah. All right.
So I bring up this. This is for anybody that doesn't know, this is the Jump Point magazine. You get this for being a subscriber. Right here, it just kind of talks about Lorville, its update, and Pyrotechnics Amalgamated. Kind of closer to the bottom there. It kind of gives you like some lore and stuff like that, but all the way down at the bottom is what we want. Not sure how many of you guys have seen this. Let me back out of this. There we go. So right here, the Mirai, the future of performance. So this is one of the variants of the Misk Fury. And I'll just get my opinion out of the way here for the Misk Fury since we're on it. I think there is a leak. What was the King Pain? What was the other variant that they leaked? Wasn't the Mirai?
Miru?
The Miru, which is what to like look after, to see, or something like that.
Mm.
I think that is another variant. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 of these things. I think this one's probably the racing variant because you could see the future of performance, and you only really kind of like talk about performance when, racing is involved or something. And then I think the Miru is probably some other fighter variant or something like that, and then you have the base version. Said to be as the same size as like a Razor.
Yeah.
So, right here, it almost looks like there's some sort of weapon right here, and who knows what's back here. But yeah, you guys give me your thoughts on it. A7, you want to start? Did you hear anything about this yet? Or is this your first time seeing it?
I heard of the Misk Fury, but it never really excited me.
Yeah.
I don't really get into the racing or the smaller ship stuff, so
Right.
I would much rather see a good mid-sized ship from Misk and Consolidated Outlands also. But that's kind of where my
Fair enough.
gameplay loop is.
Have you ever flown around in the M50 at all? I tried fighting with that one.
Yes, yeah,
That's
I
a
have.
good little fighter.
It is. Flown around in the Buccaneer and some of the other smaller ones as well. And the fighting aspect of the game is just not my play style. I don't have the HOTAS or the HOSAS set up or anything like that. So I would be all keyboard and mouse and just getting outmaneuvered every which way. I prefer the cargo running, and it's these ships are not my gameplay loop that I would go for.
Yeah, fair enough. I get that. I know racing really wasn't my thing for a long time. But what about you, King Payne? What are your thoughts on the Misk Fury and the variants?
Hey, the more ships come in, the better. Let them. I mean, it's probably most likely a racing version. It's probably going to be the mirror what the Archimedes has done. The P-72. You're going to have a snub fighter version. You're going to have and probably a racing version. It's probably what they are, to be honest. Let them bring it. Like, let that variety come into the verse, because we really, I mean, the way we're going to express ourselves is how we fly. So,
You see yourself buying this ship at all, possibly?
hell,
If you end up liking
I
it.
don't like. No, I don't. I don't like these smaller guys. So.
Okay. What about you, Zook?
I probably won't be buying it. I know some people who might be, just because they like the look and feel of the Misk ships. Very an industrial ship. And this might be a racer with instead of an industrial feel to it. So that might appeal to some people. But for me, it's just another small racing ship. Unless it does something different or something extra, I'm really unlikely to get this particular ship. But I think, personally, my guess is this is going to be another Mustang, another Aurora, another Titan, where you can have the base model, a couple of different other versions of it, like the Gamma with the Mustang, and it will just be another version of a starter ship for people who like a more industrial feel.
Okay. I bring up the Razor here mainly because if it's the same size, then it's possibly, depending on what the variants are, is a competitor. And I just wanted to bring up the price because maybe this is what we're looking at for price, somewhere around there.
If you look at the Mustang Gamma or the Mustang, if you look at the Mustang Gamma and the Mustang Beta, there's one right there. So look at the price on the Gamma, and then look at the price on the Beta.
55.
55 for it, and look at the Mustang Beta.
Hold on. I think I got to go to... you said Beta?
Beta, yep.
$40. So $10 difference.
So yeah, I'm kind of thinking that's probably what they can leave now. You have like a $40-ish variant, and then you have
okay.
$80 to maybe $100 variant. That's the racer.
It's the unfair advantage, though, there, Zook.
Yeah,
it's got to be $200.
Like the what do you call it? The 300i is like $65-ish, and the 350R is like $180-ish, $150-ish. So it's a pretty drastic step up for it being the racer. So
yeah.
That might be also be what we're looking at, is a little bit higher end, not higher end, but like a little bit higher end starter, and then have a really expensive racer variant of it.
Okay. What about you, Shadow? What do you think about the Furies and the variants? What it could be, and would you buy it if you liked it?
Nope. Not until I see it.
Okay. All
I gotta
right.
make my determination on it when I see it, and I fly it a little bit. Then I'll make my determination. But I'm not really interested in the ship.
Okay.
Good man indeed.
Yes.
Mhm.
Now, do you guys have any idea what this back part could be at all?
That's probably the
It's like a
cockpit.
cockpit to me.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, because those, if it's anything like the Merlin or the Archimedes or one of the two, the guns right there will be on either side of it, and there's a possibility that back there is like a thing that comes down over you and
Canopy.
seals up, like a canopy.
Canopy. Yeah. It's
Oh,
just barely cut
had a-
off like right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the handlebar.
Yeah.
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 Now-
That's it. Same thing. Thank God we didn't get it as a in the advent calendar this year or last year.
I feel like this is a view from kind of the rear looking forward. So the player would be facing away from you, and then the canopy would come down over top.
Oh,
no, I
really?
think we're at the
What-
front looking back.
What about this right here though? Because
Those are guns.
yeah, this looks like a gun facing forward here.
Yep. But I also want y'all to take a look. Your unfair advantage arrives May 19th. So they got to get this thing ready.
It probably
It is
already
ready.
is ready.
It was leaked that
ready.
it's flight ready.
No, not the ship.
Oh, 319? 319?
Yeah.
Okay, I was
What if?
We're all
Because
here
remember,
looking at-
MISC has an agreement with some alien technology folks, right?
Mhm.
MISC, because that's what, because they traded some alien technology for the whole series. Remember?
Yeah.
What if this is a MISC racer with some alien tech in it?
something
cool.
something we haven't seen yet.
I'm thinking
They-
like you have
they
a
did that
base
with the-
canopy and then floating engines out front, pod racing.
Oh man, Jesus Christ. Good. I'd be
Could
so
be.
hard thinking about that.
It'd be a
Oh,
little good
I can't
ride.
concentrate now. Thanks, Zook.
To
I'm
to address
distracted.
to address the gun thing that you pointed out with the guns back there and the canopy up front.
Yeah.
From this image, we can't really tell how far down the canopy sits versus how high the guns sit. So they may be able to shoot over top of the canopy whenever it's closed.
Okay. You know, I was kind of thinking too. Well, no, I don't know. This was before they came out and said it was kind of closer to the size of like a razor. I was kind of thinking maybe this is like a turret up here or something like that we're seeing that's sitting on top of something. But it's kind of thrown out the window when you think about it being the size of the razor. So
It's a two? No, it's a single seat. Never mind.
I was gonna
It's gonna be single seater.
Yeah. I was going to say that about the alien tech. I mean, it would make sense because they did that with the Nomad. You know, that's
Mhm.
using completely different tech that before then we haven't seen. So, yeah. All right. Let's talk about the I know King, you weren't here for it, but there's a suspicion that there might be a new Aegis ship because one of the Holo viewers is empty. But at the same time, it might not mean anything. It might not mean there is a ship there. But what are your thoughts on it, King?
Well, I don't know what the hell it would be.
Well, what would you
To be
want it to
honest.
be? Okay, so you have a free slot for an Aegis ship. What Aegis ship would you want it to be? Is there anything you feel like they need to fill in?
There's no Aegis ground vehicle, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you could do that. Give an Aegis tank.
It's a competitor to the Nova.
Tonk.
What makes Nova?
Hawk.
Tumbrel.
Tumbrel.
Tumbrel
That's
makes-
right. That's right. Tumbrel.
Aegis could do that. I mean, Aegis has light fighters, heavy fighters. They have a medium fighter.
Let me
If anything,
let me bring up.
there's- I mean,
Uh,
They don't have a medium freight though, do they?
Well,
let's look.
no, Aegis is a fighter. Basically.
We got the
They could get into
Avengers,
freight though.
Gladius, Javelin, Redeemer, Hammerhead, Reclaimer, Nautilus, Vulcan,
Oh, you know,
Hammerhead,
The-
Eclipse.
Raven.
God damn, they got so
Yeah.
many ships.
You know, they could do a salvage ship.
They have
They've
the
already got the
reclaimer.
Reclaimer. But, no, but that's the
Oh
heavy
yeah,
ship.
oh,
It
a
is a heavy
medium
one.
salvage would be perfect.
It would.
We need a medium salvage ship.
from Aegis to be fine.
And I think we have the Vulcan too, so that's
The Vulcan,
repair,
the Vulcan's
refuel.
already been announced. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's either going if they're going to add anything, it's a land vehicle, it's a medium fighter, or it's a salvage ship. That's the only thing I can think of.
Aegis Titan suit. God, if it was a Titan suit, that'd be great. What about you, A7? What do you think? Do you think there even is an Aegis ship to unveil, or if not, then what would you want it to be?
Yeah, I think there is an Aegis ship coming. And what I would want it to be is what I just got really excited for is a medium salvage.
Okay.
They already have the heavy salvage. We have the Drake Vulture for kind of light salvage stuff. Something in the middle that can still be one man crewed, but you can make good money would be, man, that would sell like hotcakes, honestly.
Because we have the Vulture, which is a smaller, starter into the profession, and then you have the Reclaimer. We don't have anything in the middle, so this would be a good one.
Well, you won't see the Vulture come into in-game currency until 320.
Oh, you mean for sale in game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't even think we have an announced medium salvage at all from anyone.
No, we
We
don't.
don't.
No.
Nope.
We don't.
Nope. Not at all. Okay, well, we brought up Tumbrel earlier, and there is a leaked Tumbrel vehicle called the Storm. Me, Zook, and Shadow kind of already talked about it last one.
I think it's going to be a racer.
Yeah, I can see that.
You think the Storm's going to be a racer? Okay.
Could be. Storm, that could be a military vehicle, wipe everything out.
It'd be
You
an
never
interdictor.
I think people
It
just want the
could be.
Ranger, honestly.
I do want the Ranger.
Why are we getting the Storm? Just give us the goddamn Ranger.
Wind Ranger.
Well, okay. You've got a Cyclone, right?
Mm-hmm.
With different variants. Here's your competitor to the Cyclone, the Storm.
Well, the
Does
problem
it need a
is Tumbrel
competitor?
does both.
I feel like it's a competitor
I
to
mean,
itself. It's
a
got like
competitor-
8 different variants.
Oh,
Yes,
you know
but
what?
That's where it is.
It'll be a competitor to the Lynx and the
The
First
Lynx.
Could be.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
Tumbrel doesn't
I
have a
think-
vehicle like that.
I thought you were going in
I
the
think it'll be
luxury
more of a-
line with the Lynx. I was like, no,
No.
probably not. But
No, I just mean that
I think
size.
the Ursa.
I'm kind of agreeing with you, Payne. I think it'd be a little bit larger, like a new platform for the that's more akin to the
Atlas.
Anvil series. The Anvil series.
Yeah.
The Anvil Spartan, the Anvil Ballista, and
Yeah.
Centurion. A base
Mhm.
platform for a competitor to it.
Yeah.
Because the Tumbler series has no medium to large ground vehicles yet.
Yep.
And they own the ground, right? That's their thing. Tumbler owns the ground. If it tumbles, it's theirs. But they're not even represented at all as an APC, like an armored
Mhm.
personnel carrier or any kind of large vehicles other than the tank.
I think it still makes sense.
Well, we'll see.
A7, do you have any final thoughts on it?
No, I mean everything you guys said makes sense. It seems like it would make sense for it to be a medium ground vehicle.
Okay. Let's see.
I just had a quick idea, Joe, about the anvil thing.
Mm-hmm.
What if the anvil bot, and this is a bit wild, so call me crazy, feel free, is a
Crazy.
Absolute
is a
lunatic.
org is an org barracks as a first apartment.
An org barracks.
Yeah. Like the first cell of an apartment structure as a military structure being an org's barracks.
Okay. I don't know how I think about that, but what made you think of that from the temporal storm?
I mentioned it earlier. I had the idea earlier, and I don't think anything else. Like clearly, there's some empty missing spots on the tumbler in the field that Tumblr specifies in, but I can't think of anything that's really missing for Anvil. And they've been talking about a PABS recently. It's like that,
Yeah.
Crazy brain over here talked to crazy brain over here and said,
Yeah, definitely did on that one. Yeah, who knows? I'm always down for a pleasant surprise.
What if the storm's a weapon?
Tumblr making it a weapon?
Oh, that's good.
But they know it's a vehicle, don't
You know what's something they don't do? So they have the whole weapon and component showcase, right? If they're thinking about crafting at all, or even modding components and stuff like that, kind of in the same vein as crafting. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into it. My mind is starting to race now, and I'm going to go to different places that we don't need to go. And so, yeah, no. Anyways, my only point to that was like, we never see anything with like weapons or components at these shows, other than the fact they kind of lay them out there for people to see. But there's never like a showcase, like an actual real thing. There's no reason to get excited about weapons or components at like
They're not
things like this.
specialized yet.
It would be cool.
I think so.
They're not
I think they could do
specialized
it. They could make it interesting, I think. But
until they rework the weapons, there's no need for that, though.
yeah, I think you're right. Because there would be no reason. That's why I kind of brought up the whole crafting thing and like modding, being able to have like a workshop or something like that. That would be the only reason why I would think to get excited for any sort of weapons or components.
That's your MPCB or whatever it was, an Argo leak.
Yeah,
last year.
Yeah, there was an Argo leak where they had a mobile
manufacturing ship,
a mobile toolbox, they called it.
Yep.
Yeah, where you can do that kind of stuff. Okay, so King, wasn't there another ship, or was that it?
The Sayulan.
The Sayulan, yeah, and from the leaks, there's a Hater, the guy who runs it. He thinks, and I think it's probably the best speculation, best idea of what it probably is. It sounds like the name fits right in line with Jian and the Gatak line of ships, and right now we only have one ship from Gatak, and it shares a name with Rylan, because the end of Rylan is the same as this ship, and it does actually mean something in Jian. So I just forgot what it means, but yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on it?
Flies without issue. I think it is.
Yeah, flies without issue. That's what it means in Jian, and it would make sense if it was heavily defended with guns or had really good shields.
Here's the thing: the Raylan, which is a cargo ship, again, its translation was like cargo without issue, right?
Mhm.
So what is it doing without issue? Like it does this above all else. So if a ship flies above all else, like that's its main purpose, right? I don't think it's so much a fighter. I'm thinking it's either going to be another racer, or
Oh shit!
it's going to be, which I hope is not, or it's going to be a Galtech explorer ship.
Just bringing up the specs
Wouldn't
here.
that be look without issue?
Yeah, that's right. It was like, no. That was the.
It was fly without issue.
It was fly that
Yeah.
issue. That was the Miyu. That was the Miyu.
That
was the other-
Something was.
No. That was
brought
not.
Flies without fear or something like that.
That
was
wasn't the
look
Miru.
after. That was the look after. That was the not the Miru, the Miru, wasn't it?
No. The I think it was. Let me look it up real quick.
It was look after. Maybe I'm wrong with this one.
Yeah,
The Miru
to me-
means to see or to look. So,
Yes. So
but the translation of
It's like a reconnaissance vehicle to me.
Mhm.
translation of this new alien vehicle was
Scout.
to fly without issues, essentially.
so
Don't
The-
any ship
the-
in Star Citizen flies without issues. That's a lie.
I never thought I'd see the day of Shadow Spectre 11 becoming the salty old dog he is right now.
I'm not being salty. I'm just telling the truth.
Boy,
Yeah,
oh
but
boy, have I seen you turn.
I'm
Fly
not
without
turning.
issue to me. Fly without issue to me just seems like a racer. Like that just.
that
A
or
racer,
Explorer.
okay. They did add a lot. They are showing a major focus into the racing aspect into the game.
Mm.
Yeah, I do find interesting to step back for a second. We got leaks for a Fury Miru, Miru,
Miru,
and then a Mirai,
Mirai from
MIR,
the jump point. Yeah.
Sorry, AI. So there may be like two or three different variations for that one. One's racer and one's a data runner.
It could be.
I guess I
Could
could
be.
see that.
Yeah.
See,
But then for this one, I think since it's just fly without issue, this feels to me from the name more like either another racer, which is possible, or it could be an explorer. Because I don't think they would call a ship that was meant for combat to be a fly without issue.
Okay.
But maybe that's just me.
I mean, it makes sense.
it
Now-
could be a courier.
I want everybody to think about this too. Is that keep in mind that just because there's a leak about these ships doesn't mean it's going to be unveiled at Invictus, because there's a lot of ship leaks last year at a lot of these events and they never got announced yet.
Right.
So who knows if we'll see these? We know we'll see the Fury, bare minimum, but they got to have. They're working on 4 unannounced ships. I believe it is at the moment.
But I mean, it's not about being salty. It's about stating facts. We don't know, and no ship in Star Citizen is perfect yet.
I know. I already
Let's
have an
go with
issue with
that.
what they said with the Fury there. I'm just like, how are you going to say it's an unfair advantage? How dare you? You know you'll never let that slide. Come on now.
It'll be nerfed to the dead. It'll be fine.
Exactly. Just don't pay attention to anything Star Citizen until after they nerf it. We'll give you the go ahead.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. King, do you see anything else for the leaks that you see?
Nothing standing
should-
out really.
it's all just like, oh, you know, Vindictus is coming up, and then there's advertisements, and then there's this, that, and the other. I don't know. Nothing really sticks out to me right now.
Okay.
There's a new hand mineable.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. That's
They already talked about that, though. Like
You talk about that in the IIC, but it's supposed to be
they never said what it
They're-
was.
right. But they're trying to get you to use the FPS hand miner.
And it definitely seems like it's going to be unstable to some degree.
yeah.
The first unstable hand mineable, because they talking about, I believe it was what, like, I think it was a precursor to antimatter or something.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh,
It's called Janolite, and it
Janolite.
says this rare mineral is valued as an industrial antimatter precursor, while more stable than other precursors like phenylene, or however you say that. Its tougher structure
Good
and
enough.
energy resistance makes it much more difficult to utilize as well as collect.
So,
Okay.
in other words, boom.
Yeah,
Okay.
boom.
Boom.
I guess the only other
Absolutely.
interesting thing is there's Data Heist Mission apparently coming out.
Yeah,
There's-
we
That goes hollow, I think.
no.
No?
I think that's different.
Okay.
There's well, that might be. So there's I'm a little confused because there is talk of another mission that's got Data Heist about it that's different from Ghost Hollow, but I don't think that's what they're talking about there.
I think
I
it's
think
just the
they are-
mission type.
I think they are talking about Ghost Hollow in that specific instance.
Yeah, the only other thing I see here is Stormburst bombs, which I believe is what they were talking about. a while
Size
back,
5?
where instead of the nuclear option that C2 has, that the C2 drops basically a
A2,
cluster
yeah.
bomb. Yeah,
Go
A2,
ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
The A2 just drops a cluster bomb instead of a singular large bomb. I think that's what that is.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I was guessing about it too. And that was what was going to be on the Spirit series. So, something else I wanted to bring up, if that is the case of that being on the Spirit bomber, then, and knowing how close, if not finished, it is, maybe we see it unveiled during Invictus. At least the bomber.
No, maybe the bomber, but I mean they've got here in the leaks. It says basically that they're the Crusader Spirit will be in Hollow.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I guess I missed that part.
And the SRV is going to be in a hollow.
Well, it could be it because I think one of the Spirit is at least not done yet, right? They could unveil one of them. Oh, somebody disappeared. A7.
The only one that I see going into Invictus, due to the fact that it is going to be a military variant, is the A1. If it's unveiled, if it's going to be revealed. The others, I don't see coming until 320. When hopefully ship tractor beams are implemented. And we may not even see them until IAE. To be honest.
I don't think they're going to launch one without the other at the end of the day. I don't think they'll do that.
They've already stated it all. Like I believe at least 2 or all of them are going to come out at the same time.
Well, I hope.
I'd be fine with either or. But I mean, I'm not as excited for the Spirit series than a lot of other people are. So I'm not somebody who gets typically too excited for a ship until it actually comes out. So unless it's the Pioneer, that's the only one. That's the Pioneer and the BMM are the only two I will always be hyped for, no matter what.
And the Polaris, because you said you wanted that too.
And the Polaris recently, yes. Yep.
And the Kraken. And the Perseus.
I want all the big
Nah,
ships.
those two can wait a little bit. All right. Well, I think that about almost wraps it up. I want to get everybody's last final thoughts here. If anybody in the chat has any last questions, let us know. But yeah, Shadow, any final thoughts?
319, from what I saw today, just for the slight time that I was there, that's going to be a beautiful ship. Or it's
Beautiful
going to be
ship.
a beautiful patch.
Seeing patches of
thinking
ships now.
Ships. Yeah. I think it's going to be a very stable patch, but I'm just hoping that they put it out at least a week ahead of time before they go into Invictus, and that way it can be tested and stuff like that, because there's going to be a free fly during Invictus, so we need stability.
We literally have 2.5 weeks essentially until Invictus, so that's not a lot of time, but I mean, the fact we're in wave 1 right now, that's promising. So and it did play mostly pretty well. So
if they drop it open PTU say a week before they drop it, and hopefully a couple days early in the week before Invictus, I would feel a whole lot better than what they did with 318.
Okay. What about you, A7? Any final thoughts before we turn this sucker off?
Pretty much on the same thought process as Shadow. From what I've seen so far, 319 looks good. We've got the main technology that's going to be powering it has already been pushed out with 318, so it shouldn't be, hopefully, quite as rough of a launch as 318 was. So hopefully we can get back to actually playing the game and enjoying playing the game here shortly.
Yeah. Zook, what about you, bud?
I'll keep mine short and simple because I think I was a bit more aggressive than I should have this time, guys, and I apologize.
I swear these are getting more and more aggressive just in general.
No, just
each one that we
that's
get.
one of those that's one of those things that trigger me on about my, but that's what I work with day in and day out. So
I understand in that aspect.
And but other than that, like I'm looking forward to Fleet Week. I'm hoping this patch is going to be stable, but like I said, like we've seen before, 18.2 was stable in PTU. 18.0 was stable in PTU. I'm not. I kind of don't want to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
These
events never go well. Invictus never goes well. Period.
And I'm gonna make a community event for my Discord, for my group, to go see it together, and we'll see what happens.
Yep. We'll see what happens. That's the motto of playing Star Citizen. What about you, King?
No, just be good to each other.
All righty. All right. Well, that wraps it up, everybody. I appreciate everybody coming in to the chat and engaging with us and being here, hanging out. Thank you, A7, for being the last minute guest for today's show, and hope to have you on again sometime soon. And with that, we'll leave you guys to the rest of your evening. So have a good night. Take care, everybody.
Bye.